Grabbed a 10mm open-ended wrench, loosened the positive and negative battery cables, and then took the negative cable off first, followed by the positive cable. Then I got a 10mm socket, and using just that tool, you can take the intake out and remove the battery. You can pull the battery out and the plastic tray. 10mm socket to disconnect that bolt, which is now gone, that bolt, which I've taken out, and also that bolt. However, in order to use air tool, I slipped this boot off, disconnected this bolt, popped this wire harness clip free, pull this out, and this will give us access to remove this bolt, and this entire intake plenum should come out. Found one more hidden 10mm bolt. Once that bolt is loosened, the intake should come right out. Remove this clutch line support bracket and the transmission strap. See here, these are M5s. I'm going to disconnect the clutch slave bracket. Looks like there's two fasteners hidden behind these connectors. I think they may be 12mm. Disconnect these wires for the starter, and probably remove the starter itself. We'll disconnected the gray connector, took the blue connector, disconnected it. This bolt was hidden. We'll just slide it off of the bracket. So now I can pull it out of the way and get straight access to the two bolts that hold the clutch slave in place, thinking that we'll be able to take this off and fish it through and put it back out of the way. We got the clutch slave released, and the only note, until it's reinstalled, you do not want to press the clutch or else you will eject this piston and then need to buy a new clutch slave cylinder. The next step here is we're going to release this plastic wire connector clip that holds the starter wires. The next step here is after we've removed the shift cables, the bracket, disconnected the speed sensor back there, so shift cables, bracket, speed sensor. To connect a bar to support the engine when the transmission is out. I picked this bar up at Harbor Freight for probably, I think it was about $60. And then there's an engine lifting point provided there. It takes an M8 by I think 1.25 bolt. If the bolt's too long, it won't reach, so you're looking for a bolt about that long. It'll just fit in behind this coolant hard pipe, and the chain came with the Harbor Freight kit, and I'm using a washer just to make sure it doesn't slip off. Okay, the engine post is connected. It's suspended on this bolt. Crank this as needed to put a little more tension on the engine. Bolts, so there's a bolt right there, hidden from view, and then there's another one on the other side right there. I'm going to take those off. I'm going to take these bolts off. Top two transmission bolts removed, 17mm socket, they're both the same length. We disconnected a bolt and two nuts, as well as the bolt that holds the trans mount to the rubber isolator. Should be able to take this off, yep. We need to do something similar to the engine mount bolt. The nut actually pulled the stud out of the transmission, which isn't entirely uncommon. Next thing we're going to do is remove this engine mount bolt and then the bracket. This is the front engine mount. We've got 17mm bolts here. Next up, we need to remove the lower engine shield. It's got a number of these pop clips, so we'll pop this out. It'll release the clip. Looks like there's about 20 of them all across the front. Flathead screwdriver there and there, both sides. Try to pry it out. We got the lower engine shield off. Used an impact to break the axle nuts loose. Hit the ball joint nuts with some penetrant. The other one came off pretty easily with an impact. I'm going to take this one off. And then I tool loaned a ball joint separator, and we'll be able to pop the ball joints free. and this will free up the knuckle. I could take this nut off, and then should be able to pry both axles out, and we can finish up the exhaust on the back of the car. It's soaking in penetrant now. Take the exhaust off, and then it's time to start disassembling the subframe and the trans mounts. This was the tool loaner tool that I was able to use on the ball joint. This actually released them both. You just got to keep cranking it. Be careful, but it did bust them both free. Axle nuts removed. We pried out the ball joints here, and then with a pry bar, just put a pry bar on the inside surface here. Pry off the transmission. This will pop out. That'll pop out, and then you can just carefully remove both axles from under the vehicle. Remove the exhaust pipe. So the next step is to remove these two bolts. This should free up the exhaust and get it out of the way. This will allow us to take the subframe out. Okay, to get the exhaust pipe off of this car, there's two additional bolts in the back. I'm going to guess these are 12 mils again. So I'm going to take those off, release the exhaust, and then I can get the front rubber isolator mount off, which is hanging me up right now because there's no play in the exhaust. Okay, we've got 3 trans bolts to remove. 1, 2, 3. These hold the mount. And afterward, we will remove the actual trans mount. 1, 2, 3. There's 3 there, and yeah, one wonderful bolt hidden. Okay, this is the rear trans bracket. We got these bolts that go through the subframe. One is longer than the other, so we're going to keep track of that. The service manual said to take all 4 of these bolts out. However, I took only these 3 out and the whole mount came out. This one was loose. I don't think that helped us, but at any rate, it did say to remove all of these bolts. Again, it came out without really removing this one. I have taken the subframe off. In order to do this, I've marked the when it was installed in the vehicle. I started by making a paint marker line from the bolt head flange onto the subframe in 2 directions. I did this on the 4 main mounts, even though the service manual only said to do it for the forward mounts, which are these that are in the top of this view. There was an additional bolt here. This was a 14 millimeter bolt, so in total there were 6 bolts. 17, 4 bolts for 17, 2 bolts for 14. I put a 2x4 across here on a transmission jack, and I was able to crank the subframe down and roll it out the front of the car, so it wasn't so bad. So next up is to remove the engine stiffener. The engine stiffener is this piece here. Goes around the back, so there's a bolt here, 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 and then afterward there's 2 shield bolts. I believe this is one of them. This bolt and one on the other side. The stiffener will come off, the shield will come off, and then I believe it'll be time to lower the transmission by removing the remaining 4 bolts total, holding the transmission onto the engine. I already have it supported by a transmission jack, so I'm going to go ahead and take the stiffener off and remove these bolts and then start battling with the transmission. Okay, we've removed the engine stiffener and the cover plate from the bottom of the transmission. The stiffener takes 12 millimeter bolts, 1, 2, 3, 4. This falls off, and then there's 2 10 millimeter bolts here. There were 2 more transmission bolts to be removed. One goes through here, and the other one goes through here. This is a shorter bolt, so I've marked it. This bolt is the exact same size as the bolt on the back side of the transmission that's up there. So at this point, the transmission is supposed to be freed. Transmission is out. This transmission is a B6B, I guess. Actually, it came out pretty easily, I have to say. This was pretty straightforward with the transmission jack and a set of hands above. It came out pretty simply.